More than half of every iPhone sold is a Pro model. In a year where Apple introduced a brand new iPhone model and also gave us a normal model with almost every single important feature that the Pro iPhones have, this phone still dominates the sales charts even with a higher starting price point. This has led to a record-breaking $85.3 billion in iPhone revenue, a 23% increase over last year in a smartphone market where most other companies are on the decline. And despite all odds, in a year where every analyst, tech pundit, your average Android fan slammed Apple for being late to AI and fumbling their rollout of Apple Intelligence and were quick to predict their doom once again, well, this has only led to Apple, thriving. So will Apple fans buy anything, or is the iPhone 17 Pro really that good? And if you haven't bought one yet, should you? Now, I did a lot of time-consuming research for this video, so to save on time, I hired a chef to cook me gourmet meals. Actually, I just ordered a box from Factor, and I got to pick from hundreds of different fresh, chef-crafted meals sent straight to my door. And I picked so many tasty choices like these blueberry protein pancakes and cheddar scramble, which was ready in 45 seconds. A 45-second breakfast, that's kind of hard to beat. And I love spicy food, so for lunch today, I brought this Korean-style salmon and gochujang sauce to the studio, and it was ready in 2 minutes without any prep. I love having these nutritious, healthy options, even on busy days, especially when I have a workout scheduled later. It's important that I have a healthy meal that can fuel me and one that's packed with a lot of protein, and all of my Factor meals have 30 grams of protein or more. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use my code GREGSGADGETS to get 50% off your first box, plus free breakfast for 1 year, one per box with active subscription, free meals applied as discount on first box, new or returning subscribers only, varies by plan. Sign up today, and thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Okay, let's look at the broader iPhone lineup, because the iPhone 17 Pro isn't the only other iPhone released this year, and for the first time, it isn't the only premium model that Apple sells. The iPhone Air was also released right alongside the 17 Pro, and when it comes to a different look, the iPhone Air is unlike anything Apple has released. It doesn't matter where you look. The front has a new 6.5-inch display, the sides are super thin with beautiful polished titanium, and the back, yeah, it really doesn't look like any other iPhone that came before it. Out of all the iPhone models, the Air is the most distinct, it is the most different, and you would think, okay, new iPhone model that looks very different from every other iPhone model, that is going to be a hit because Apple fans will buy anything shiny and new with an Apple logo on it, and believe me, this thing is shiny, and there is an Apple logo. And if you thought that, you would be wrong. The Air's market share of sales is only about 5 to 7%. It is the lowest out of all the modern iPhones, which is even lower than the previous market share of the Plus model. And it wasn't the iPhone Air that saw an increase in success this year. It was the normal iPhone model, which took the exact opposite approach. It kept the same design as last year, but improved upon so many features that it made it hard to ignore. It got a bigger 6.3-inch display, smaller bezels, and unlike prior years, this was the year where the normal iPhone finally got a faster 120Hz always-on ProMotion display. It also had a faster A19 chip, a better ultra-wide-angle camera, now with a macro mode, and in fact, when you look at the features and specs of the iPhone 17 right up against the 17 Pro, those phones really don't look or behave all that differently. You're getting about 95% of the iPhone 17 Pro experience at the normal $800 iPhone price. That has led to rave reviews, and in my own videos, I said it was the phone to get. In fact, almost every reviewer pretty much told you to buy the iPhone 17. And here's the crazy part. You didn't listen. The Pro still won out. But why? Well, it comes down to a pretty simple answer. The iPhone 17 Pro combines design, features, and value, even at the higher end. Yes, it is not a single feature that Apple has done here with the 17 Pro, but it's a bunch of smaller improvements that have added up to a phone that goes above and beyond the typical smartphone release. It has a bigger camera bump, an aluminum two-tone finish, and distinct colors that are easily recognizable as the latest iPhone models. And after using the 17 Pro for almost 6 months now, I can say that it is a cool looking phone. Like, I love how this looks, and this bright orange color brings me joy every time I see it. It is Hands down, my favorite iPhone color ever released. Okay, with exception for maybe the iPhone 5C. Those had some pretty great colors. Now, I also really like the way that users have embraced the bigger camera design on the 17 Pro by placing small stickers on the back of it. And that's kind of giving like the iPhone its own unique identity and personality and almost making it, dare I say, like trendy? But it isn't just looks, right? Apple also combined features that people value and don't mind spending extra money on. The biggest one is the simplest. They just put a big battery into the 17 Pro and Pro Max this year, leading to longer battery life that really no one can complain about. And this is also the year that Apple has kind of perfected the rear camera arrangement. It took them long enough, but now all cameras on the back of the 17 Pro are 48 megapixels. On top of that, the new 4X lens has been one of my favorites to shoot with because of the higher quality and resolution, and also being able to crop in at 8X gives the iPhone so much more zoom than it had before. Like, we have had to watch Android users have this higher level of zoom for years, so it's great that the iPhone finally got it, and Apple did a really good job on the quality implementation while also letting you zoom in farther. And then for power users, Apple fixed a lot of the complaints people had with the last two models, like the thermal issues, by adding a vapor chamber cooler to keep up with the demand of their super powerful chips, and adding 12 gigabytes of memory and making every iPhone model start at 256 gigabytes of storage is also a nice bonus. It really doesn't feel like Apple is trying to nickel and dime you this year. Like, they don't have that base model where you don't recommend it, right? Like, any iPhone Pro model you buy is probably gonna be fine. I also think the Pro is so popular this year because it's the only iPhone model you can get now with a super-sized display, because the Plus model was discontinued, and that had a bigger display than the Air. So the Pro Max is the only iPhone that has a massive 6.9-inch display. So that is kind of like a unique form factor for it this year. It's why 6 months after its release, I can still recommend the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. They are great phones with a cool design, good battery life. Like, I would still probably recommend you try and see if you like the normal iPhone 17 first, because it's such an outstanding phone. But I get it. If there's a feature that you want on the 17 Pro or the Pro Max, these are the ultimate iPhones for a reason. And before you go, Greg, every year the Pro model iPhone is the best-selling model. Well, yes, that is true. But this year, it is a particularly good year for Apple, because for the past 3 years of iPhones, Apple wasn't necessarily in a state of decline, but they weren't exactly growing. Shipments remained more or less flat year over year for the past 3 generations of iPhone models. The iPhone 17 was so successful this year that it made up 59% of Apple's total revenue, more than every other part of Apple's business combined. The iPhone 17 generation is the outlier. It is finally growing again on what a lot of analysts kind of already said was the peak of the smartphone market. And the important part here is that it didn't grow by AI features, it didn't grow by services or software, but by Apple making something that not only looks different, but by making hardware that people actually want. I hope Apple and everyone takes a lesson from this and realizes that throughout the years, what Apple fans have rewarded Apple the most for is not only when they innovate, but when they just make really good hardware that doesn't cut corners. And yes, one that looks cool and different as well. It's why I picked the iPhone 17 Pro this year, and chances are, statistically, you did too.